This is the brief on Agile project management. These sources break down how adaptive methodologies help teams navigate rapid change, proving that flexibility is the ultimate competitive advantage in an unpredictable world. So first, we've got to focus on the fundamental shift from predictive to adaptive planning. Traditional waterfall planning is kind of like baking a cake. You must follow the recipe exactly for a guaranteed outcome. Agile is way more like cooking a stir-fry. You continuously adjust based on taste and your available ingredients. And hey, Agile isn't just for software anymore. It's absolutely crucial for any project where requirements are unclear or the environment's rapidly changing. Second, how do you actually organize this whole stir-fry approach? Well, we have two main frameworks, Scrum and Kanban. Scrum relies on time-box iterations called sprints to deliver work in chunks. Kanban focuses on continuous flow by visualizing work on a board to limit your work in progress. So you've really got to ask yourself, do you need to deliver in fixed chunks or just keep a steady stream of work moving? Finally, how do you know if you're actually moving fast? It all comes down to two vital metrics, lead time and cycle time. Lead time tracks a request from the initial idea all the way to completion. But cycle time, that only measures the time the team spends actively working on it. Teams love to obsess over optimizing their cycle time, but lead time is the only metric the customer actually feels. Ultimately, whether you're developing new software or organizing a massive conference, prioritizing continuous feedback over rigid plans is the true secret to delivering value.
This is the brief on predictive project management. This survival guide for waterfall projects shows us how to execute complex tasks with zero surprises, whether we're rolling out a global IT system or painting the Sistine Chapel. First, let's talk foundation. The predictive approach is strictly for stable projects with known outcomes. You see, the scope is completely fixed up front, while cost and schedule are variables. Think about boiling an egg. What if you suddenly want an omelet instead? Well, there's no winging in here. Any change in scope means you literally have to scrap it and start a brand new project. Second, since that scope is locked in, how do we visualize the work? We use the work breakdown structure, or WBS. It breaks down all of your scope into smaller packages, using nouns instead of verbs. Think of a WBS like a massive Lego sets parts inventory. It tells us every single piece needed to finish the castle, but it's definitively not the assembly manual. Finally, how do we know if we're winning without waiting until the end? Performance metrics. For cost variance, take your earned value, the actual work you've completed, and subtract actual costs. For schedule variance, subtract your planned value from that earned value. So what does this actually mean for us? A 0 is fine, but positive numbers are absolutely your best friend, meaning you're literally under budget or ahead of schedule. To master predictive projects, lock in your scope up front, break down deliverables using a WBS, and let variance math track your success. Because when you plan the work perfectly up front, working the plan becomes the easiest part of the job.
This is the brief on the core principles of business analysis. Drawing from a massive survey of different frameworks, today's material is basically your ultimate guide for bridging that tricky gap between abstract business needs and real, actionable project solutions. First, getting this right takes a massive mindset shift. Business analysis isn't just some job title. It's a super learnable, universal skill that's totally centered on asking why to uncover what stakeholders actually need. Think of a great analyst, kind of like a doctor. You wouldn't just treat the random symptoms a patient complains about, right? You've got to diagnose the actual root cause. Second, once you've diagnosed those core needs, your specific project framework really dictates your strategy. Like a predictive waterfall approach, that requires you to lock down all your detailed requirements right at the very start. But an agile approach is highly iterative, meaning you're evolving those requirements sprint by sprint as you build. But wait, if agile is always evolving, how do we stop it from turning into total chaos? Finally, you keep that chaos totally at bay through strict requirement validation, using something called a requirements traceability matrix, or RTM. This handy tool links every single initial business requirement directly to a final project deliverable and its acceptance criteria. Think of the RTM exactly like a grocery receipt. It's your definitive proof to make absolutely sure every single item you paid for actually made it right into the bag. So, when it comes down to it, succeeding here really just means asking the right questions, adapting smoothly to your team's workflow, and meticulously tracking your results.